Lately, Elon Musk announced that he is slowing down the Mars colonization plan to focus on establishing a lunar base first, while China is also preparing its own manned moon landing and lunar base plans. But how much does humanity really know about the interior of the Earth beneath our feet, the very world with its own sunrises, moonsets, mountains and rivers? In fact, humanity has never directly explored and observed the internal structure of the Earth. All of our current structures are merely simulated and inferred through indirect observations, such as seismic waves. You can't say it has never been attempted. The Soviet Union actually conducted an experiment. The Russians took a more direct approach, attempting to drill straight through the Earth. On the Kola Peninsula, where the borders of Norway and Finland meet, they dug an incredibly deep hole, aiming to directly observe the Earth's interior. For the first 24 years, they excavated very rapidly, but they halted the drilling at approximately 12,000 meters. The official reasons given were funding issues and the unexpected high temperatures. However, rumors claim that at 12,000 meters, they encountered a terrifying incident and heard the miserable wailing of countless people inside the borehole, and unknown monsters crawled out from the bottom of the well. Some say the drill bit broke through the gates of hell. None of these eerie rumors can be validated. However, the concrete technological data and results released from the dig seem to tell a very different story than the solid planet theory we are taught. The conventional solid Earth model holds that the upper layer of the continental crust is primarily granite, which has a lower density, while the lower layer is basalt, which has a significantly higher density. However, the actual discovery at the Kola Borehole was that they did not encounter the expected basalt layer. Instead, they found rocks like metamorphosed granite. Therefore, the density did not suddenly and drastically increase. The solid Earth theory posits that in the high-pressure environment, tens of thousands of meters deep, the rock should be extremely dense and completely solid, leaving no room for a single drop of water. Yet, at depths between 7,000 and 10,000 meters, scientists discovered a massive amount of water. Furthermore, according to predictions from physics models at the time, the temperature increase in the deep crust should have been linear and relatively mild. Scientists expected the temperature to be 100 degrees Celsius at a depth of 12,000 meters, but it was far higher than anticipated, reaching 180 degrees Celsius. In addition, scientists also discovered the fossils of 24 species of ancient microscopic organisms at a depth of 6,000 meters. The drilling scientist remarked, "I don't believe in heaven or the Bible, but as a scientist, I now believe in the existence of hell." What is even more interesting is that at a depth of 9,500 meters, scientists discovered a massive gold deposit, where the gold content was far higher than that found in surface mines. Moreover, a large-scale silver mineralization zone was also uncovered. In the German brothers Grimm fairy tale, The 12 Dancing Princesses, a story is described where an old soldier secretly follows the princesses through a hidden underground passage of the castle into a subterranean world, where he sees a forest made of gold and another made of silver, both glittering brilliantly. It is almost as if the 19th century brothers Grimm wrote this fairy tale only after studying the report of the Kola Borehole from more than 100 years in the future. It feels a bit too much of a coincidence. There is another region where legends of an underground world capture the imagination: Tibet. Hidden within the classified archives of Western occultists and explorers lies a tale of a hollow, subterranean empire known as Agartha, buried deep beneath the Patala Palace and the bottomless chasms of the Himalayas. According to these legends, the Earth's core is not a mass of molten magma, but a perpetual luminary known as the central sun, which sustains a flawless ecosystem within the planet's interior. This vast subterranean realm is interconnected by an intricate network of ancient tunnels, at the heart of which sits the resplendent capital of Shambhala. There, an ancient race of giants, standing nearly 3 meters tall, with skin as pale as moonlight and lifespans stretching over a millennium, is said to thrive. In recent years, deep crust explorations, conducted by nations including China and the United States beneath Tibet, have yielded baffling results. When scientists transmitted seismic waves into the bedrock, they discovered that upon reaching depths between 15 and 40 kilometers, the waves, which usually travel rapidly through solid stone, suffered a sudden, precipitous drop in velocity. This anomaly indicates the presence of a massive, unique zone spanning thousands of kilometers, possesses a material structure entirely distinct from the surrounding rigid rock. Furthermore, by measuring electrical resistance from the surface, instruments revealed that at this exact same depth, the underground resistivity plummets to an incredibly low level, indicating extraordinary electrical conductivity. While typical subterranean rocks are largely insulating and non-conductive, the deep crust beneath the Tibetan plateau forms a vast, contiguous zone of high conductivity. Is this the legendary underground kingdom of Tibet, or something else? To this day, it is still an unsolved mystery. So, are there any contemporary stories of an adventure to the center of the Earth? As a matter of fact, there is. Richard E. Byrd was a famous U.S. Navy Rear Admiral, polar explorer, and aviator. On February 19, 1947, Byrd was leading his team on a routine flight reconnaissance mission over the Arctic region. Some versions claim it was the Antarctic, but the original novels mostly point to a departure from an Arctic base. During the flight, the endless white ice sheet suddenly vanished. Byrd and his co-pilot saw the terrain below transform into a vast, green forest, with rivers even winding through the valleys. The compass on the instrument panel began to spin frantically, the gyroscope could not stabilize, and all radio communications and navigation equipment failed instantly. The aircraft completely lost contact with the outside world. The thermometer outside the cabin began to rise rapidly, and the sub-zero extreme cold transformed into a spring-like, warm 73.4 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius. As the plane continued to glide forward, they entered a massive valley. Looking out the window, Byrd spotted a gigantic animal on the emerald green grass. He pitched the nose down to lose altitude and observed carefully through his binoculars, confirming with utter shock that it was a mammoth, a creature supposed to have gone extinct tens of thousands of years ago. Just as Byrd was in a state of extreme shock, control of the aircraft was suddenly seized by some external force, and the control stick locked up completely. Immediately after, two disc-shaped craft, with a strange, shimmering luster on their surfaces, appeared on both sides of the cockpit windows. A voice speaking English with a Nordic or Germanic accent suddenly broke through the radio, gentle yet unquestionable. "Welcome to our domain, General. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, General. You are in good hands." Controlled by an invisible force, the plane landed smoothly on a runway in an underground city glowing with an otherworldly light. Here, Byrd met the emissaries of the Hollow Earth civilization. The architecture looked as though it were made of glowing crystal or high-tech composite materials, and the entire city was infused with a serene, transcendent atmosphere. The inhabitants were tall, golden-haired, and exceptionally beautiful. Byrd was escorted into a magnificent building where he had a private audience with the ruler of the inner earth, known as the Master. The Master told Byrd that they were a higher dimensional civilization living inside the earth and initially had no desire to interfere with the surface. However, ever since the US military dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan in 1945, they had sensed the destructive tendencies of surface humanity. The master stated that they had sent UFOs to the surface to attempt communication, but they were attacked by surface military forces. They brought Byrd in this time to act as a messenger, warning surface nations. If humanity continues to abuse nuclear weapons, it will lead to self-destruction, and the inner Earth civilization will intervene if necessary. After the meeting concluded, Byrd was guided back to his plane. With the assistance of the mysterious force, the aircraft lifted off vertically and was propelled back into normal airspace. When the ice sheet reappeared before his eyes and the instruments returned to normal, anxious calls from the surface base crackled over the radio. Byrd checked the time. It felt as though he had just lived through a long dream. It seems that UFOs and such might not originate from outer space. Perhaps they simply come from inside the Earth. Moreover, this could answer a long-standing question. If highly advanced aliens have already discovered Earth, why haven't they colonized or destroyed it? Perhaps the civilization inside the Earth has been preventing alien invasions all along. However, the story above claims to come from Byrd's diary, published in 1964. But General Byrd passed away in 1957. This was not written by Byrd himself, but by a fanatical UFO enthusiast named Walter Siegmeister. That being said, Byrd was indeed conducting an expedition in Antarctica at the time, an operation codenamed Operation High Jump. After The Hollow Earth was published, there is no evidence showing that Byrd's son publicly confirmed or denied the claims in the diary. In 1988, while en route to Washington, D.C. to attend a memorial event honoring his father, he mysteriously vanished, only to be found dead later in a warehouse. As for Byrd's grandson, his stance on the diary is quite clear. He completely disbelieves it and treats it as a total joke. In addition to this, the astronomer and geologist Edmund Halley, the very man who discovered Halley's Comet, proposed the hollow Earth theory back in 1692. The hollow model suggests that the atmosphere inside the Earth is capable of emitting light, and that there are inner Earth entrances at both the North and South poles. According to this theory, the auroras at Earth's poles are actually formed by gases leaking out from this subterranean atmosphere. This theory could also explain another phenomenon: the frozen carcasses of ancient mammoths discovered in Siberia, whose stomachs and mouths still contained remarkably fresh food. This might suggest that instead of continental drift or similar events, these mammoths may have wandered out from the inner Earth channels at the North or South Pole, only to be instantly frozen to death. However, some people claim that the Earth is flat, which would mean neither a solid nor a hollow model exists. The flat Earth theory. In fact, the hollow Earth theory happens to explain the issues raised by the flat Earth theory, such as the mystery of the Antarctic ice wall, and in doing so, it actually shows why the flat Earth theory is incorrect. You can all think about this carefully. In addition, during the 1980s, scientists at Harvard University used seismic tomography, essentially giving the Earth a CT scan, to map the planet's interior. They discovered that when seismic shear waves, S waves, passed through a depth of 2,900 kilometers directly beneath the Pacific Ocean and the African continent, at the core mantle boundary, their velocity suddenly slowed down by 1% to 5%. This indicates the existence of two massive, anomalous structures beneath the Earth, as large as continents. They are not hollow caves, nor are they liquid lava. They are made of solid, dense rock. During the 2000s and 10s, when researchers vertically projected the coordinates of supervolcanoes on the surface down 2,900 kilometers into the Earth, they discovered that the roots, mantle plumes, of supervolcanoes like Iceland and Hawaii all aligned precisely with the edges of these two underground continents. One hypothesis suggests that these are the remnants of a planet that crashed out of the sky 4.5 billion years ago, slammed into the Earth, and sank into its deep interior. But is there another possibility? Could these actually be the continents of the inner Earth? The Hopi tribe of native North Americans also possesses legends regarding the inner Earth. They believe that during several world-ending cataclysms, possibly events like asteroid impacts, they fled into the underground world to hide, returning to the surface only after the ecosystem had recovered. Of course, the hollow Earth theory itself is riddled with flaws, and there are numerous theories that debunk it. However, the solid Earth theory also lacks conclusive evidence to truly demonstrate what the interior looks like. I believe we should neither blindly trust these urban legends, nor treat our current scientific discoveries and hypotheses as absolute, unquestionable truths. The internal structure of the Earth may be far more complex and mysterious than we imagine. Perhaps one day, with the advancement of technology, we will be able to directly observe the true interior of our planet. And perhaps that day is not very far away.